All righty. Let's talk about our draft profile we have to do with our early scouting report here on Kyle McCord. A guy, like I said, a lot of you guys have been asking for. Here we are delivering. We're like the dominoes of Giants podcast here. And he's a Jersey boy. Wrong part of Jersey, the Philly part, but he's still a Jersey boy. So McCord was born and raised in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. Went to St. John's Preparatory School in Philadelphia, alongside teammate Marvin Harrison Jr. there. Imagine having that kind of duo in high school.
Right?
Insanity. His freshman year, he was already getting attention from colleges, including getting a scholarship offer from Central Michigan. His sophomore year, he threw for a school record 2,883 yards and 35 touchdowns. That season, he committed to play at Ohio State. Over also had offers for Texas A&M, Penn State, Mississippi State, and Michigan State. A lot of states liked him. That season, as a junior, he missed the final 4 games of the season with an injury, yet still threw for 2,399 yards and had 31 touchdowns. He was named the Pennsylvania Gatorade Player of the Year as a senior and threw for 1,582 yards with 21 touchdowns while completing 65% of his passes. He ended up breaking the Philadelphia Catholic League record for career passing yards at 6,887 yards. Listen, anytime you're breaking records for a conference, let alone a school, that's
doing something right.
Yeah, you're pretty good. Goes to Ohio State. His freshman year, McCord is mostly a backup for C.J. Stroud. Obviously, C.J. Stroud's a pretty damn good player. No shame in being a backup when you first get into college with that. He did get to start one game versus Akron when Stroud had an injured shoulder. In that game, he went 13 of 18 with 319 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. On the season overall, he appeared in 5 games, 416 yards, going 25 of 38 with 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. His sophomore year, he stayed as a backup to Stroud, appeared in 7 games overall, threw just 20 passes, completed 16 for 190 yards and a touchdown. In 23, he competed with Devin Brown throughout the offseason for the starting job, both the spring practices and training camp. McCord ended up starting week 1, but head coach Ryan Day said the competition was still ongoing. After 2 weeks of starting, he was named starter for the rest of the season, though. Prior to the Cotton Bowl that season, McCord entered the transfer portal after Day had declined to say if McCord would then start the bowl game.
Darkness, my old friend. Did we lose Drew again?
No, I'm here. Did I lose you?
Maybe you did.
Maybe I didn't.
Oh.
Well,
who we are.
Here I am. It didn't say anything on my screen. Maybe you guys know if you lost me in the comment section. Anyway, though, prior to the Cotton Bowl, McCord entered the transfer portal after Day declined to say if McCord would start the bowl game or would he be the starter for the next upcoming season. That year, 12 games, 229 to 348 passes. That's a 65.8 completion percentage, 3,170 yards, 24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. And let's be very frank, if you go to the tape of Ohio State, and keep in mind he was surrounded with a lot of talent. We talked about it when Marvin Harrison Jr., ironically, was coming out. Obviously he went to go play with his high school teammate there, that he had a down year. We said that Harrison had a down year his last year compared to what he had the prior year when Stroud was with him. And we had mentioned attributing that to the quarterback play. I remember that very specifically, saying, hey, the quarterback play wasn't what it was with Stroud. It kind of affected him a little bit. This was that quarterback.
Yeah.
So same as we said that when we said Jermaine Burton was affected by bad quarterback play at Alabama, we attribute that now towards when we talk about Jalen Milroe, because that was the bad quarterback play. You have to equivalent that into part of it. So he did, though, transfer. He did, like I said, went to the transfer portal. He ends up going to Syracuse. Literally the exact day that he entered the transfer portal, he was visited at his apartment by new Syracuse head coach Fran Brown. Now, Brown's wife and McCord's father, who, by the way, was a Rutgers quarterback, worked together. So there was a connection there. And Coach Brown had said that he kept hearing about, this guy who his wife worked with bragging about his son and how good he was even in middle school. And it was just crazy that how that all turned out to be. And obviously they knew each other from work and everything. So it was a pretty easy solution for him. A lot of the guys who actually were in like the middle school era, so to speak, of his football career ended up also going to Syracuse because of the connection to Fran Brown. So he just felt kind of at home there and went there. Needless to say, that was a very good move for him. Very good move. McCord led all quarterbacks this season in total passing yards, passing attempts, completions per game, passing yards per game. He ranked 4th in touchdowns. He was second team All ACC, was a finalist for the Manning Award, finished 10th in Heisman voting after not even being guaranteed a starting job last season.
So you're saying he had a career?
I'm saying a year.
Yeah.
Not a career, I wouldn't say. He broke the Syracuse record for passing yards and passing touchdowns. He set an ACC record for most passing yards in a season. And in his final game in the Holiday Bowl against Washington State, McCord threw for 453 yards and had 5 touchdowns. Had a hell of a season. 13 games. He had a 66% completion percentage. He threw for 4,779 yards, 34 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. That's a hell of a season, guys. There's no way to walk around that. That's a hell of a season in a very, very pass-friendly offense. So Bleacher Report gave us a list of pros and cons for him. Said, pros, mechanically sound thrower, has a quick and snappy release. Thrives playing from the pocket on time and in rhythm. Accurate pocket passer who delivers passes with good ball placement. And knows how to toggle between throwing velocity and touch down the field. Their negatives they listed. Average mobility and athleticism, not quick-footed to evade consistent defensive pressure. Mechanics and decision-making decrease when under pressure. Tends to lock onto his initial reads, needs to improve eye manipulation, and must reduce turnover-worthy plays. Now, I got to say, watching the film of this kid, everything that Bleacher Report said showed up 100% in film. It's almost like we talked about this Will Howard. Will Howard was the guy who would literally go to the line. Ironically, Will Howard took over for him at Ohio State, but McCord would go up to a line. He'd read the defense. And he wasn't like, and we said with Howard almost kind of seemed to pick what receiver he wanted to throw the ball to. McCord kind of seemed to pick what side of the field. He didn't really seem to go through progressions. He would kind of go, okay, it looks like there's going to be a lapse here on this. Let's go on to the right side here. I think one of these guys is going to pop open. There's a matchup issue here. You see it's something that he liked. And he kind of focused on that side of the field. You can't do that in the NFL.
No.
You cannot do that in the NFL whatsoever. That will get you in trouble. Point blank in a heartbeat. And then obviously the lack of athleticism that was definitely there. He's a pocket passer, 100%, guys. If you're counting on him to run, you're counting on him maybe get 1 or 2 yards. If the breaks down, he's not the guy getting 20, 30 yards. He's also not the guy getting 20, 30 yards and fumbling or falling down for no apparent reason.
Fumble.
But I look at the issues, what happens with him when he gets under pressure, and yeah, that's an issue, especially for the Giants. Like, you want to bring in a guy here that's a project guy who has trouble dealing with being under pressure and makes bad decisions when he's under pressure. That is a recipe for disaster. Absolute recipe for disaster. And
100%.
He's not a guy that I'd sit there and say you start, off the very beginning. He's a guy who needs to sit in the bench and develop, no matter what team picks him. Point blank. But for the Giants specifically, that's a recipe for disaster, because if you pick this guy, he's going to be your backup quarterback, probably behind a veteran, probably for the whole year. That's the kind of guy he is. To me, he needs to go to a guy who's a proven quarterback guru kind of guy. And no, I don't mean Brian Dable, because again, we
I was
don't
about
give
to
him
say.
credit for Josh Allen. He needs to go to a guy like a Sean McVay. Like, that'd be a good spot for him in the Rams. The Vikings would be a good spot for him. You know, like, that's the kind of places he needs to go. So where somebody is a legit coach that wants to give him a shot to develop. The Green Bay, good example. He had to be the backup. You know, he's not going to replace Jordan Love, obviously. But don't tell me they don't want a better backup with Malik Willis being their backup last year. Look what happened there. Averaged like 80 yards per passing per game. But I don't think he's the guy personally. I don't think he's the guy the Giants go, you know what? We don't like these two guys up top. Let's go get a guy later on. I don't think McCord is that guy personally.
I don't think so.
Yeah, like I wasn't overly impressed with what I saw. Now, is he a guy that works very well in a college system? Yes. Is he a guy that worked very well in Syracuse's system specifically? Yes. And I think what they just did is they built a system around what he did, because they had a whole brand new coaching staff coming in, and they could do that because of that. There was no established offense there. So they built an offense based on what he did well, and it kind of matched what they'd like to do, what they wanted to do there. And he thrived. And when he thrived, it's because the offensive line did their job. And I can't tell you how many times I go, oh, look at the play he made. But there was a clean pocket. He was sitting there for 5-6 seconds with nobody touching him. And when he made the bad plays, it's because he got pressure. And he started hearing footsteps, and he started causing issues. Like I said, I'm not a fan of him overall. I think if you want to develop him, you probably get a backup quarterback out of him. He's not the guy that I think you develop and try to get a diamond in the rough, Brock Purdy, Russell Wilson, a guy that you can get day 2, day 3 that you can try to develop. I don't think that's what he is. But
yeah, this dude's that Purdy, so.
But you never know. And I think if you need a backup quarterback, he's a guy that I wouldn't mind going to get. The Giants don't need a backup quarterback, though. We need a starting quarterback.
2.
Well, 3. What the hell? Let's get 5.
Yeah.
But he's not the guy. He's not that guy, guys. I wish I could tell you otherwise. I wish I could sit there and say, there's this guy. He's going to be available day 2, day 3, and he's going to be spectacular, and nobody else knows it. There's a reason they're day 2, day 3 guys. There's issues.
Yeah.
And there's definitely some issues here. And this guy is a guy who needs time to develop, to mature, to learn to do some of this stuff, and to learn to be an NFL quarterback. Not a college quarterback like he was this year, because he was a very, very college system. This is not a system you will see in the NFL. So,
if you like that clip, then you will love the full episodes too. Find us on your favorite podcast app and look for us on all your favorite social media platforms.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please subscribe.